perfect? Nobody.
Nobody,
right?
because it's myth. It's a
Yeah.
myth that keeps us spinning our wheels and striving for something, right?
Well, for sure. And there is no way to attain it. I mean, I'm type A, self-professed type
Yeah.
A, which means I'm driven and I want things to come out.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, in the beginning of this journey, what I envisioned as perfect was not perfect for my clients.
Yes.
The language I was using did not match their language.
Yeah.
So I was totally off base anyways.
Welcome to the Work Less, Play More podcast for busy entrepreneurs who are ready to ditch the hustle, stop burning out on busy work, and get back to having a life. My name is Lindsay Johnson, aka The Radical Connector, and I've spent the last 10 years teaching first-time entrepreneurs how to get customers and make money. Listen in as I chat with other hustle-recovering business owners as we share our top tips for, you guessed it, working less and playing more. Let's do this. Hello, friends. I am delighted that you're here today listening into this conversation with Tara Gratto, all about embracing imperfection as an entrepreneur. Now, if you haven't met Tara yet, she is a busy mama and the founder of Raising Resilient Children, and she is a big believer in the importance of community. She supports overwhelmed parents with practical tips, tools, and strategies for navigating the challenges of parenting while fostering social emotional skills with their children. She also uses her experience as a small business owner to empower parents with tools for navigating a work-life-home relationship. Now, like most people, Tara had to pivot hard when the pandemic started, and she went from teaching children to teaching parents. And all along the way, oh boy, has she had to come out of her comfort zone and embrace imperfection. In this quick convo, we're going to dive into how Tara learned to show up on social media as her authentic self, even when she was really resistant to social media at the beginning. And she also shares her insight for the new professional normal and no longer needing makeup and professional clothes in order to show up, and has started to learn how to be comfortable showing up in her favorite sustainable clothing just as she is, and the importance of being consistent, not putting on a show. Are you ready for this? Let's do it.
We're talking about perfectionism or letting it go. And as always, Zoom have kept us humble.
Yes, 100%.
Reminded
And
us
just
that,
proving our point, really. That's what's happening. It was just the technology reinforcing what we're here to say.
yeah, which is that let go of perfectionism because you'll never get anything
Yeah.
done.
No, absolutely. We could have walked away. We could have tried to reschedule. We could have, but you put out a great suggestion. You're like, let's record something and, plan B. It's all about plan B when you own a business. It's all about plan B.
It really is. Have you had many moments where you've had to plan B it recently? Well, I
All the
mean, your
time.
whole new iteration of your business is a plan B.
Yes. No, I think, yeah, every moment seems to be a plan B, really.
Yeah.
Before our call, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, Q4 a year ago meant nothing to me. I was like, Q4? What's Q4? Like, what are these people talking about Q4? I owned a preschool. There was no Q, like, whatever. It was Q all year. And now I'm like, Q4, holy cow.
How are we in Q4? It's Q4, everyone. Q4 is here.
So yeah, no, I think everything about, the way I started my business was
Yeah.
a plan B, and just embracing everything. I think back to one of our sort of bigger conversations in January when we were on Clubhouse talking about perfectionism. I don't know if you remember that conversation, but it was like, what holds us back? What prevents us from our greatness? And where does perfectionism come from? And I remember you said to me, you're an educator. Where do you think it comes from? And I was like, the education system. And it was like an aha moment. I was like, because everything's out of 100.
Yeah.
You're graded out of 100 your whole life. You get an A, a B, or C, or D. So we're set up with this mentality of like, the only way to achieve is to be perfect.
Yeah.
But who's perfect? Nobody.
Nobody,
right?
because it's myth. It's a myth that keeps us spinning our wheels and striving for something, right?
Well, for sure. And there is no way to attain it. I'm type A, self-professed type A, which means I'm driven and I want things to come out.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, in the beginning of this journey, what I envisioned as perfect was not perfect for my clients.
Yes.
The language I was using did not match their language.
Yeah.
So I was totally off base anyways.
Yeah, yes. Messaging, I talk a lot about that, right? Like there's ways of phrasing things or talk, like Q4. There's things that we say and we do because that's how we know it, our verbiage, our lingo, whatever. But if no one understands what we're talking about, it's pointless. And
Yep.
to your point, because you had said your people that are meant to be in your community are there because they want you, right? And so there's that balance of, you know, I know that Tara, for you, you're very big on professionalism and showing up and doing a good job. Yes, but like really setting the bar and leading. And so how do we maintain that, but not alienate by using lingo, by setting that bar so high that people don't know what we're talking about?
Yes, 100%. And it even came down to like when I was starting my Instagram journey, like, how should I dress? Do I dress like I was as a VP? Right? Do I do that? Or do I dress in my typical smart? I'm like, you know what? I'm me.
Yeah.
And you're here to see me, not the me that I'm trying to be.
Yeah.
And that was a huge spin for me because I was like, because it's a bit of a casual environment when you show up. And so you kind of feel like, where is the professional line? But at the same time, I'm not using that lingo.
Yeah.
Right? That it's a different language. So embrace my authentic self, embrace my parent side.
Yeah.
And use that language in my messaging, and also just be okay with this is what you wear for what you do, and show up and try and be.
Do you think that parents, actually, let's pause for a moment. I'm going to come back to this question because give folks that are listening some context. What do you do?
Oh, yes, of course. I'm Tara. I'm the founder of Raising Resilient Children. So I'm a parent educator. And what I do has actually changed a lot since I started in this journey. And that is, I help parents with the overwhelm, which hasn't changed. But what has changed is my understanding about what overwhelm means. Mm-hmm. I believe in making space for feelings for kids and parents who are intentionally trying to foster that relationship. What I learned about in language and this perfectionist mentality is what that means to parents is, how do I navigate these big feelings that my child has? Because you know what? I came from a place where feelings were meant to be suppressed, and that was a sign of strength.
Yeah.
Right? If you talked to me a year ago, I'd been like, you need social emotional skills because that's the foundation, right? Like I would have been very sort of using the lingo, and I've learned that that's not how it works, right? I got to talk the language, but I had to fail.
Yeah.
I had to fail to learn that.
Yeah.
I had to say the wrong things and have that not resonate.
Yeah.
To learn that.
But is that a failure? Isn't the failure not learning it?
True. Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely correct. I guess in the sort of thinking about perfectionism as a model and where I was projecting myself in September to January of last year. So 1 year ago now until January, what I projected as my image, I would reflect it as the failure. But no, of course, it's not. It's success. I learned from my imperfection that there's a whole other world there that I didn't see. Yeah. I didn't see. Yeah.
So what helped you see that world?
Well, first of all, you told me to show up.
I made you. I was so mean.
Well, it's funny because like you got me on Clubhouse, which I don't use anymore, but I used it quite a bit. And that actually helped me get over the hump of like, just show up with strangers and talk and get a sense of the room. Then I worked with Jenna Warner at Magic Marketing Machine.
Yeah.
And I learned that you just got to put stuff out there and test it and try it, which you say all the time, right? You got to throw all these things out there. I didn't believe it though. I'm going to be honest. I didn't because I know better and I'm academic. And
I may not know what Q4 is, but I know.
Right? Well, I still know what people need to learn, but now I talk differently about what that learning looks like. But I'm going to say something that's a bit controversial. You have to throw a bunch of quantity out there to develop quality.
But that's not controversial. That's literally how it's done, right? I use this analogy all the time about playing board games or card games. I play hard. I lose a lot. I like try all these different strategies or different things. And it means I lose until I'm like, oh, I got it. And now
Right.
it's like I can win, 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 win. It's the same. It's like you have to just throw stuff out there. And I don't, you know how how I feel about busy work, right? So there is a balance. It's like you got to throw spaghetti against the wall to see what sticks, but you need to throw strategic spaghetti against the wall, right?
Yeah.
And then actually see what sticks, and then grab those pieces and throw them some more.
Right.
To really take that analogy into the ground there. Really wear it right out.
But I will say, like, I had to do more busy work than you would have appreciated to get to, like, now I can do. Okay, no, sorry, I shouldn't throw that.
You don't know me.
No, it's true, 100%. Your mantra about not doing busy work, I had to do quite a bit of it to get good at it. I did. I had to own it and be like, you know what? Because what I did is I set myself a bar of being like, you're doing too much busy work.
Yeah.
And as a result, I wasn't actually improving. But then I did some and I tried some, and oh man, some of my reels are like bad. But now I can make a reel in like 15 minutes, captioned and all, and out it goes into the world. And those are some of my better reels. So it's again this idea of like, just try it, do it, accept that you're not going to look perfect. Because that was the other thing. I'm like, well, your first impression is everything. That's drilled into our heads. Your first impression means everything. But what does that mean on social media? What does that mean in your business? Because we know they have to see you 7 to 10 times. So there's not really a first impression. There's like a multiple first impression. So you need to look consistent. That's what I'm like, if I was wearing totally different outfits every time and I was talking differently, that would actually probably be more confusing, because it's like, is that the person I recognize or not?
Yeah, it's the word consistently, right? Or consistency that you said. Even if the reels are bad, even if the lives are bad, if they're all bad, but you keep showing up, like even if somebody doesn't watch it, but it just says Tara Gratto was online, Tara Gratto did this, you know what I mean? Like it just showed it, right? By having just them seeing you showing up is already building so much trust and dependability.
True. Yeah. I mean, if you'd asked me a year ago to do a Facebook Live, I would have laughed. I would have been like, no chance. Because I looked at things like this as like major presentations that you have to prepare for instead of showing up for authentic conversations. Right. And that's really what I've had to learn about perfectionism and embracing this world that's a bit weird that we're living in. But it's not the new normal. It's just going to be the normal.
It's the normal. Do you think that the panorama, do you think that has played a role? Do you think that it has made people loosen up with the sense of professionalism, what they wear? You know, I see so many people in like buns, no make, and normally they would be perfectly polished, right? And we just see this, what I would have once called lack of professionalism, now I would call real life.
Yeah, no, I think there's some truth in that. I think for sure. I mean, it's funny because I ran a preschool for, 7.5 years, and it was an outdoor preschool. And before that, I was an educator in schools. Like I was an administrator and a teacher, and I did all those things. And it actually went through my head. I was like, am I going to invest in attire for this new role that I have? Is that what's going to happen now? And then, like you said, it's like, well, no, that's not what people are doing. People are showing up in whatever suits their personality. So I wear my smart wool and my sustainable, because that's really important to me. The clothing I wear is extremely important to me. And I'm not willing to give that up for fast fashion. And Jenna actually said to me, she's like, that's a statement in and of itself, Tara. Like, think about that for a moment. And it's true. What's the ideal we're going for? What are we doing? Well, we have to be our authentic self. You can't live your authentic self if you're dressing apart, talking apart. Right? You're your worst critic. You are your worst critic. Right? I said this in a group this morning. I was like, our social media is our whole centered world, but everyone else is just doing this.
Yes.
And some likes.
They see your face, they give it a double tap because they want to support you, and that's it. It's gone.
And even your biggest followers, because we were talking about like your biggest followers that you think are following all your captions because they're liking everything, they're commenting, they're even DMing you. They still need reminders. Like, I'm launching a course in a couple of weeks. I still had to follow up with people who are avid followers and be like, hey, what do you asked me about this course, just wanted to follow up and see how, and they were like, oh, thanks for the reminder. And in my mind, I was like, but you're such an avid follower because I think I'm the center of my world. But I mean, it's a great example of why you have to just embrace the moment, because you are literally the fleeting moment, and you'll stand out to those people. It's not that you don't, but just stand up for who you are.
Yeah. What are you calling the wool? You're calling it?
Oh, smart. I wear smart wool.
Smart wool.
I wear another company called Sloom and Icebreaker.
Okay.
Just wool in general.
I love it. Okay. So showing up in your smart wool, showing up casual, right? Showing up in the moment and just having those, I like how you describe it as it's just a moment, just showing up for that moment and just saying what you got to say, saying what's in your heart, saying what you want people to know. Do you find that like your followers, do you find that you're building a more, I don't want to use the word authentic because everyone says authentic, but you know what I mean? Like a more authentic, a more real connection versus, oh, that's a really pretty background, or, oh my gosh, like it's not so superficial.
Right. Yeah, no, I think I put out what I expect. And does that turn off some people? I'm sure it does. I'm sure they're like, she's 20 years experience, but she doesn't look like it. And you know what? I guess you're not a good fit for me then. And that's a hard thing. And it's something that you talk about a lot, right? Is this like, if somebody unfollows you, that's actually amazing.
Yeah.
Even now, I can hear it. I can say it. It hurts. It hurts when you lose followers. You're like, oh man, what did I do? But at the same time, you have to remind yourself, like, whatever I did, you clearly weren't going to fit with me anyways. So I know one thing about embracing just like who I am is I can actually show up easier.
Yes.
So when I had to think about my looks and my makeup and things that I don't typically do, and dressy clothes, I was like, well, I'd have to change to make a reel or I'm pretty active in my stories. I'd have to change to be active in my stories. I won't do it.
Yeah.
I won't have time.
No.
And you give off this awkward energy, and you can actually see it in my early stuff.
Yeah.
I look stiff because I'm not comfortable. Whereas if I'm wearing what I'm comfortable in and it suits the topic I'm talking about, then it's just a more fluid moment.
Yes.
And you just give that off, right? You can't fake that. Some people say you can, but you can't fake that presence.
It's a relaxed presence. It's a this is me, I'm present and I'm here, and this is what I got to say, and it disarms people. Like it disarms your viewer. For
sure. And you're real.
Yeah.
You're not putting on a show. Right. I mean, I think presentations and things, you do have to change your brain to do certain things.
Yeah.
But in terms of showing up and getting good at showing up, you just have to say, I'm going to show up and do it. What's the block? And for me, it was showing up. How is my caption going to be the right way? Is my look going to be, is my graphics perfect? Do eventually I want somebody to write my captions and do my graphics for me? 100%. Can they be done better? Yes. Somebody else's zone of genius is definitely better than mine. But I have to put content out, so it's going to go out like this right now, right?
Yes. But I love that. I guess that mentality is, it's very much it has to get done. It has to get done, so I'm going to do it. That's always the talk I have with myself when I have to do hard things or scary things, like going to the dentist or like getting my knee surgery next week. It's like, well, it has to be done. So just do it. And I mean, hopefully your social media posts aren't the same as, going to the dentist. But
sometimes in the beginning they were.
Yeah.
In the beginning it was that painful. I was like, oh, who cares about me? Why do I have to talk to the camera? I mean, everyone, you, Jenna, you got to show up. You got to show up. You got to get comfortable. You got to do it. And I was like, but I'm not comfortable and I don't like showing up. I didn't have a selfie or a video on my phone in January of this year. None. I don't have anything else now.
Now that's all you've got. I see you everywhere. Your face, do you know how many times, no matter what app I'm scrolling on, there's Tara. Whether it's one of your carousels with some really good information. What was I reading about this morning? Today was about when your kids are having a meltdown, how do you continue to do the it would be gentle parenting. Would you call it gentle parenting? Or
so I call it intentional parenting.
Intentional parenting. Yeah.
Yeah. So the idea that we go into it with a frame of mind and we're going to be intentional, but you know what? There's still space for making mistakes.
Yeah.
and fixing them. So I had this framework I developed in my preschool called the language of kindness.
Mm-hmm.
And what it was is a system for managing difficult moments with kindness. So I call it intentional parenting just because I think sometimes gentle parenting or positive parenting kind of lead people down a path of like, they always have to be perfect and perfection and always have to have the right answers. And they can't make mistakes. They're seen as bad parents if their kids make mistakes.
Yeah.
So I try to be like, let's be intentional. And let's also be intentional about fixing our mistakes.
Yeah.
And use kindness while we're at it. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's why I call it intentional parenting.
I love it. I love it. So yes, this morning I saw the post on that.
Yes.
So what advice would you give to people who are really relating to this? They know they need to, there's a bit of a feeling of going to the dentist. There's a bit of a feeling of fear of rejection. There's all these things. There's a bit of tech issue, which, hey, you saw, we had it.
Yes. And you'll have many.
And you'll have many. I had one of my clients way back in the day listen, everybody is the same. If any of my clients that aren't familiar with social media, everybody is the same. There's resistance, there's fear, there's I don't want to. I was just talking with one of my folks, Susie's Obrist, about the same thing. And I was like, trust me, I was literally thinking of you. I was like, there are people who don't want to do it, but you're going to love it when you find a way to do it that works for you.
For you.
So what are some tips that you have?
I think one of the tips is get yourself a cheerleader or 2 or 5.
Yes. Yep.
Right. Find yourself, right. Your group, the academy got me started, Jenna's, because I became accountable to having to show up. I invested time. I spoke. I was like, I need to do this. I really want to build this business. I'm planning to change the world. And the accountability part is that person says to you, well, if you really want to do that, guess what?
You got to do something.
You got to show up. So you need somebody, because if you have that level of fear, and that's what it is, it's fear. You need somebody who's like, and then you also need that person to be like, I'm going to double like you. Yes. And I'm going to double like you again. Right. And that's how it starts. People that definitely weren't in my niche, 100%. My first cheerleaders, nowhere near my niche. But that got the momentum started. And then I started to get people in my niche, and then it built out from there. And the great part about that is when I was practicing and learning, I had these people who are like just liking the stuff and commenting. And, I did my own feedback, but sometimes people would be like, hey, that doesn't resonate with me. But yeah, you need your like little cheerleaders. Because if you try to do it on your own, you'll get blocked. Yeah. And you don't have to, the Ride Connectors has tons of people in the group. You don't need to join an organization or whatever. Just find your little group and say it. Yes. I think that's the key, right? You have to say it out loud. I need to show up on Instagram. You need to say it to somebody so they're like, okay, I'm ready.
What did I call it? Like gentle accountability, or like playful accountability? Because to me, the word accountability can have almost like a negative connotation sometimes. Yes, like you feel like you're put in a position where someone is your taskmaster and they're going to know. So like gentle or like playful accountability, right?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. But you need your cheerleaders, right? You need your supporters. Yeah. You need some people who will make sure that you do what you say. Yeah. It's up to you to do it, but and I think that the other tip I would give is, and I know everyone listening has heard this, consistency. Yeah. Pick whatever's going to work for you and do it. Yeah. If it's 1 reel a week or 1 Facebook post or 3 or 6, whatever it is, stick to it for a couple reasons. One, when you stick to it, you make yourself accountable. I don't know. I need a new word.
Accountable and authenticity. They're so overdone, but yet they're still so true.
It's true. It is true. But it also, you'll start to see the rewards of that. Yeah. Because if you show up consistently, then the computer programs, the algorithms, start to know who you are. Yeah. Right. There's so many reasons for the consistency. There's so many different reasons for the consistency, but it will also help you get over that hump. At least that's.
Yeah. Well, it allows you to get into a rhythm, and it allows you to, like you say, you can make a real thing so quickly now, right? Yeah. So it allows you to also learn the tech and get quicker at it, right?
For sure.
And I think another. I was going to say it. No, go ahead. On creativity and other ideas.
Yeah. And I think the other thing, I was actually in a conversation about this earlier, if you have something that you want to share that you're passionate about, get clear on what it is you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Because then you're going to want to share it with the world.
Yeah.
And then that sort of block where you're like, I'm not good enough, I'm not perfect enough, this post isn't perfect enough, it will diminish a bit, because it's like, I need the world to know about this. And that's more important than me being worried about how perfect it is.
Yeah. Well, it allows you to move beyond it being about you into being about this message, this purpose, this cause.
That's an important point.
Yeah.
That is exactly how my head's spun. This isn't about me. This is about the message. I care about children's mental well-being. I care about parent mental well-being. I will make a fool of myself on Reels because it matters that much to me and it grabs attention.
Yes.
So you're so right. I did embrace that idea of like, this isn't about me anymore.
Yeah.
It's not. It's about my message.
Yeah.
What I'm passionate about.
What helps too is when you get feedback, like when someone says to you, oh my gosh, I needed to hear that today, thank you so much, or this is exactly where I've been at, I'm so glad I'm not alone. Like when you start getting that kind of feedback, right, it reminds you, this has nothing to do with me, and it kind of switches you into that mode of, when I'm talking to the camera, I'm talking to somebody. I'm talking to somebody right now. I'm not just talking to myself.
Yes. No, I think that's, because that is definitely a block, right? In the beginning, you're like, I do not like talking to myself.
Feel kind of dumb, and you're like, where do I look?
And that doesn't entirely go away. Like, I'm not going to be like misleading to people and be like, it's all perfect now. I just love showing up when I'm by myself. I still am like, I can't believe I'm talking to myself, but it does get easier. It does get way, way easier to do.
Good. Thank goodness for that.
Right?
So Tara, where is the best place for people to follow you?
Instagram at Raising Resilient Children. That's where I spend most of my time, and I'm really active on Instagram. Yeah, that's me.
I love it. Amazing, amazing. And we'll put that in the description as well, so folks can come and follow you there, along with your website, because if you want to learn more about Tara's work, she is doing good work. So
thank you so much. This is fun.
Thank you so much for hanging out with me today and for staying patient with all those technical difficulties.
Embrace imperfection. That is the summary of today.
That is
Embrace imperfection.
And allow the magic of a plan B to come out.
Yep.
I think one of the previous times I did a perfection conversation with somebody else was probably 2 or 3 years ago. I think like literally the exact same thing happened. Things weren't working. It was the exact same situation. I have to go find it. It's old. I have to see if it's on my computer still, but it was like the same thing.
Oh, that's too funny.
Yes.
Yeah. Are you one of those? Have you got your like tech savviness enough now? You're like, I could turn this into like 6,000 things.
I have people who I lovingly pay to do that for me. I'm in the process right now of setting everybody up to be like, all right, take this brilliant piece and go make some more content out of it. So that's literally what I'm my marketing people are in the process of doing right now for me. That's
so cool.
Because
I can't wait to get there.
You will. I'll tell you, I love social media. I don't have the time. I would rather be doing this than creating, you know what I mean?
Oh, so, I hear you.
Right?
I hear you.
Well, and that's part of making social media your own, right? What do you love to do?
Yeah.
And that's what you want to go do more of.
For sure. Absolutely.
Yay. Okay. Thank you so much for hanging out with me.
Amazing.
Bye.
Bye.